Welcome to the Addiction Connection podcast, connecting the hope of the gospel with the heart of addiction. C.J. McMurray, or Mr. Biblical, as we call him, joins the pod today. Hi, C.J.
How's it going? Great to be on here.
Good to have you back.
Yeah.
And we also have, and I was going to say this about C.J.'s name. You just have a really cool name. CJ, that's cool.
I don't know about that. I like Quigley Down Under.
Now Quigley, so yeah, Jim Quigley has a very cool name as well. You have the cool CJ. He has the cool Quigley, the last name. CJ Quigley, that's a pretty cool name. Like that would be supremely cool. That's why God didn't give you guys both of those names together.
Yeah, we'd be way too proud.
Probably my son is going to turn out to be one of the coolest kids in the world because his name is JP Quigley.
JP Quigley.
Ooh, yes.
That is super cool. Yeah. He's got me beat. I'm playing Jane Mark Shaw. You know, it's not a whole lot to that. But I like CJ, I like JP, and I like Quigley. So yeah. Well, anyway.
We like you, so
yeah. Thank you. I'm just kind of boring.
Speak for yourself. I think he's okay sometimes.
Right.
Well, we're reviewing a show. It's a fictional show. It's a Hulu original. It's called Dopesick. This is episode 3 that we're going to talk about today, and we just have to do a disclaimer and a warning that this show is not Christian. There are words. There are suggested things in it. Even some things that kind of push the line that turn all 3 of our stomachs, and you have to fast forward through some of the language. I said that last time, I just don't appreciate the language and the concepts. But the reason we're doing this is a very realistic portrayal of drug addiction. And all the things that go along with it, like from the pharmaceutical company, from the district attorney, from the DEA, FDA, the regulators, and then the addict, the doctor, the medical staff. I mean, they comprehensively cover almost all the issues. I can't think of any stone they left unturned. Can you, Jim?
No, especially this episode. I mean, it seems like every episode, they're always building on each other. But I mean, like I've said before, I lived in, every aspect of the pain pill, issue. But man, this is really bringing back lots of real memories of real, situations that I experienced, and I think you do it very accurately. To CJ wasn't on the last show, but like I told you, the acting in the last episode where the girl Betsy goes out and she gets sick and then doubles her dose in her vehicle and then comes down and sits in the table in the camper and begins the euphoric look on her face, like that was so real to me. Mm-hmm. That it was hard for me to believe that she wasn't actually feeling the effects of the pain pills.
Yeah, and so we're critiquing the fictional account. We're not critiquing actual people, real people, or any of that. Just this fictional portrayal in the Hulu original series, Dopesick. This is episode 3. There was a book written by Beth Macy called Dopesick that this series is based on. And so that's what we're doing. So I'm gonna start with scripture because CJ kind of inspired this. So I really want to make sure we ground people in the scripture. And I understand if people can't watch Dopesick with us, don't watch it. Don't put it before your eyes if you can't. If you don't want to fast forward, and there are people who should not watch this, and we get that. We're not endorsing it. We're not telling you to watch it. Don't watch it. In fact, that's what I would say. But there are so many themes to critique in this that apply to drug addiction and then biblically. So I want to start with James 3:13, thanks to CJ Mr. Biblical McMurray. Who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. Verse 14. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but it's earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere, and a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. And so, CJ, I'll throw it to you first. Your thoughts on this were there are several characters that in this episode in particular are really motivated by this bitter jealousy, selfish ambition in their own hearts. And it's not wisdom from above. It's earthly, unspiritual, demonic wisdom. Take it from here, brother.
Yeah, as I watched this one, just that throughout, I just kept thinking about that verse and another one in 1 Timothy chapter 6 that kind of could have went with either one. But it's really that whole idea of, and I was really hyper focused a little bit on Richard Sackler and just his, the way they depict his character in that movie. It just everything, like that's just what drives him. He wants to be the man in the family. There's just the Sacklers, they're pretty well-known, kind of wealthy, successful by the worldly standards. And he wants to be the next kind of guy. Because his uncle was the man before, I think, and then he died. And so Richard just was driven, and Oxycontin was going to be his ticket to put him at the top. And he was so just, consumed in a sense of like his whole identity was wrapped up in Oxycontin had to be, that was it. And if it didn't work, then, he was good. His whole meaning and his whole life was wrapped up in this. And it just seemed like he was consumed. And you could just see the way he treated people throughout, and even the sales reps just at Purdue, and the way they were just continuing to push people to sell these to doctors and pharmacies and all over the place. Just the way what was her name? Who can tell me the gal's name? Do you remember?
The sales girl?
Yeah, the sales girl. What was her name?
I should
Jim?
I
can't think of her name.
Okay.
Because I just think of her as the terrible person.
Yeah, they're kind of
awful.
Awful, man.
Very awful.
I know she's depicting a character, but even her depiction is just so awful. It's like a little overboard. It's like, I know there's people like that that really exist in this world, but like I still want to believe that maybe there isn't.
Right.
She's that bad,
Well, and I think you'll see a little softer kind of later. A little they kind of show that she's not, that she does have some heart somewhere underneath all that. But it's still, this is just the passage that just really stood out as I thought about it. And it just shows you, again, the verse that we've talked about a lot, Proverbs 14:12, there's a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death, right? And this is where they're headed. And just all the damage that's done over selfish ambition. Like, I've got to get what I want, and I'll do whatever it takes to get there. And all the collateral damage that you see just in this episode is just, it's heartbreaking.
This third episode starts with a pharmacy break-in. The guy throws the brick through the window, breaks in, steals OxyContin, and that's where it starts. And of course, they revisit that a little bit later. And then the doctor, I didn't notice this until I rewatched it. Dr. Finnix, which is Michael Keaton, his character, he is joking about ending up in hell with this girl, Betsy, who is same-sex attracted. And, but they did pause for a second, like, oh, we might be wrong. Like, I thought that was a good portrayal. Like, we're joking about this, but we could be wrong. I thought, wow, that I like that. That's a good, consideration. And of course, we know they are wrong. And these are just characters in the show. But I thought he gave a lot of counsel. And then even with the sales rep, Billy, the guy who's pursuing that other female sales rep, trying to pursue her romantically or intimately or, just awful.
Right.
But he's given him advice and counsel too. And so that's how it starts here in this first episode. Jim, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the beginning scene. Now, I don't want this show to become a laundry list of recommendations of movies not to watch. But I don't know if any of you guys were reminded about a movie that came out in 1989 when we saw that first scene. It just hit me right away. There's a movie called Drugstore Cowboy. Actually, it came out in 1989.
Oh yeah,
starring Matt Dillon. And what hit me was, there was enough about pain pill opioid addiction back in 1989 to make a Hollywood star, movie called Drugstore Cowboy, where I can tell you that back then, the number one, I don't know if you guys watched the movie, but the number one drug in that movie to get was Dilaudid. That was the big drug to get from pharmacies. And little side note, when I've told my testimony, I was doing pain medication in Florida. I was doing Roxycontin, and they ran out of Roxycontin because there were so many people on pain medication down there that they would switch everybody's, temporarily switch everybody's prescriptions, and they had switched them to Dilaudid, and I overdosed because that's what I had gotten. I wasn't used to it, and I overdosed. That's where I overdosed at my pastor's house on Dilaudid. But anyway, Dilaudid. Wow. The thought that there wasn't enough, knowledge out there in the world that this could become a giant problem with pain medication, to where they were making Hollywood movies about, breaking into drugstores in 1989.
Right.
I didn't even mention that this show does a good job with the pharmaceutical stuff, and the representation of that. Again, it's fictional. We don't know, but they show Purdue Pharma citing a study that shows 60 milligrams or less of OxyContin, oxys, and you can stop taking it without withdrawals. That's what they're telling the sales reps to tell the doctors in the medical world. Hey, tell them 60 milligrams or less, you can stop taking this. You won't have withdrawal, which is not true.
Am I right?
Yeah, I don't want to, so I know that it's factual that they had that one report that said that only 10% or less than 10% of people, or 1% of people, became addicted. I know that was true. I don't know if this study is true, but I will tell you on a broader scale that if you've done any kind of look into research or like medical studies, when they come to try and prove this stuff, it's almost like they can get anything to tell you anything,
Yeah. That's
I know
true
that
with statistics.
The bringing Prozac to market and this FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, they needed like three studies that showed that it benefited people. They actually did 10 studies. 7 of them were failures, and they found 3 of them that proved positive. And those are the ones they reported to the FDA when they were testing the drug out, and they were able to bring it to market. So
I've talked to medical people who have said, I was fooled by all this. Like when they came out with a pain scale, what's your pain, 0 to 10, which they still use today, like you said, Jim. And the whole thing of, you can get off of this without withdrawal. People were fooled by this. Medical people believing, the sales reps and Purdue Pharma ultimately. And again, this is a fictional account we're critiquing here. But I really appreciated that aspect of this, the selfish ambition that we started with, CJ, the idea here that, everybody is. What's sad about this whole series to me is there are very few souls who care about people. It seems like everybody in it is trying to make a buck. They're all in it for selfish ambition, this whole thing. And you just see that over and over in each character and the way they developed it. And if you want to see a depiction of sin right before your eyes, watch this series.
Right. Yeah. Total depravity. Bam. On display.
Yeah.
Though Doc maybe at least had, they depict him as having at least he might be a guy that cares for souls, but he also doesn't have a biblical understanding of souls.
Yeah. And he's giving counsel, I said earlier, but he's not giving biblical counsel. He's just giving, you do what you do. You do what feels good.
Follow your heart, right?
Yeah, and it's wicked. It's the wrong counsel.
Yes, but it looks to the world like he looks like the best guy in the show, right?
Oh, that is going to follow his character throughout. That's why there is a necessity. These few, and I don't want to spoil it, for those who haven't seen it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. There's a necessity to build this guy up as you're basically, like we've talked about how the secular world, it fundamentally looks at the human being in a wrong way because they figure that they look at humans as fundamentally good people, right? We are good people, and if given the right set of circumstances, the right environment, we would naturally become just good people trying to help other people. It's the whole, utopia type. And he is this character. He is the secular view of a good person through and through. And that's going to have his life affected negatively by just circumstances,
That's right.
And we need to feel sorry for him, because if we were just change the circumstances, then he could continue being the good person that he actually is.
Yeah, and that's the world's approach is, it's all circumstances, it's all, environment. That's why people get addicted. He's told by the sales rep, you don't have to taper people off, Doc. They can get off 60 or less, no withdrawal. Yet he does taper off Betsy, the young girl with the hurt back, who's lesbian. And he tapers her off. He offers it. She throws the pills in the dumpster, and she's trying to get off this mess, and she's sick as a dog, and it's ruining her relationship and relationships. And you start to see her really begin to turn toward the dark side of all the choices of drug addiction and all that entails for that young lady. So,
and I think it's important to tell our audience too, what you see in Betsy. I in that moment, I thought was very real to me, and I've actually done that a few times, like a bunch of times.
Where you tried to quit,
hate it. You really hate what these things are doing, right? Mm-hmm. And she nobly throws them in the garbage, and she goes and she tries to sweat it out. But this is where people need to be empathetic to. There is a biological side to a drug addiction, and this is what it looks like. Right. The physical part of it is very, very with a desire to stop. She has a desire to stop, mm-hmm. and the physical part is very, very powerful.
Yeah, and that's the name of this episode, the fifth vital sign. Medical people will tell you there are 4 vital signs. You've got body temperature, pulse rate, respiration rate or rate of breathing, and blood pressure. Those are your vital signs. And now they're adding this fifth vital sign, which is actually a product of the Purdue Pharma Company, at least as it's portrayed in this fictional show. But it's not a medical thing. It's not a science thing.
You're anti-science, Mark. You're anti-science.
I do sound anti-science.
He's not anti-accurate science.
Just like they did the term. Yeah, I'm not anti-accurate science. Thank you, CJ, my defender. They're coming up with yet another way to sell and to convince. And it's fascinating. I mean, they're doing like the toppers contest. So they're trying to get their sales reps to be motivated to sell, to win this trip to Bermuda.
Yeah.
All expenses paid and that kind of thing. And Purdue has come up with this fifth vital sign, and they've gotten a doctor and a speaker to talk about, pain has been undertreated. We need to look for a fifth vital sign. We need to evaluate that. And you've got just that whole dynamic. We had breakthrough pain in the last episode. That was the name of it. That was something Purdue Pharma created, a phrase that apparently Richard Sackler, at least the character in this show, created that term, and his uncle Arthur created the psychic tension term. Mm-hmm. So they're creating words and terms that when this guy, the district attorney guy, gets the surgery for his prostate.
Oh yeah.
They offer him OxyContin. Wasn't that a great scene?
Awesome
he's offered OxyContin, and he's sitting there and he's kind of out of it. He's in a lot of pain, and he's like, I don't want OxyContin. Do you guys remember that scene?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of, I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but it kind of reminds me of what they do at the hospitals now with fentanyl. They do that with fentanyl very much.
There's a lot. If you're not looking at it like we are, you'll miss in that scene. So what we see in that scene is the ridiculousness of the chart, right? The 1 to 10 chart, because my wife's a nurse, and if you talk to anybody in the medical community, guess what everybody says when they're in pain and they go to the doctor? It's
like a 9 or 10.
Yeah, they say that they will tell you it's a 10. They'll tell you it's a 12. They'll tell you it's 12, right? What did he say? He said it's 1,000. He said it's 1,000.
Yeah.
And this guy kind of knows. This guy knows, I mean, but he still is going to respond to the question. So it's a stupid thing, right? I mean, it's totally subjective to the individual, the whole pain scale thing. It's not a new vital sign. But we also see that it's a fictional show, but it was a real, it's a depiction of the reality that they had changed the narrative to the level in the hospitals. The guy said a priority a priority in this hospital is treating people's pain. That is a priority in this hospital.
Right. And it's still and that's still a priority today in real life in the hospitals, very much. That has carried on into 2023 very much as a big part of.
And like you say, fentanyl is the one now. I thought the line of the episode was when the doctor, this pain doctor or this hospital doctor who's treating his pain is like, this is a priority. Like you said, Jim, they flip the narrative and he goes, well, can I get something other than OxyContin? And the guy says, well, Motrin, do 1,200 milligrams of Motrin, but it won't last you 12 hours. And the guy, the district attorney guy who just had the surgery goes, well, neither does OxyContin.
Right.
That's right.
I did too. And
even though Purdue Pharma is saying it does, it's going to last you 12 hours. I thought, man, that's a great line. He's in excruciating pain, but he's angry enough. I mean, again, I love the character development because this is a good guy who at the end is going to do the right thing. And he's laying there and he's, who doesn't want to fix their pain?
Right.
And he's like saying, no, don't give me that. Give me something else, because he's investigating it. He sees the damage. And I just thought, man, and he's not a Christian in the show, but he's a morally upright, upstanding character. And I thought, man, that I like that. And I thought that was a great line. What'd you guys think?
The other thing you saw in it is that he's aware. I think it's this scene of the other new agenda that they have started at the beginning of the show. I don't think we've mentioned yet is the individualized dose, right?
Yes, I was waiting. Yes,
to prevent breakthrough pain. So this is more the narrative. So we don't want people to experience breakthrough pain. So to prevent it, let's individualize the dose. And I think they said, yeah, let's give him 20 milligrams. And he said, what happened to 10? You know, yeah, it's in the hospital. He says, what happened to 10 milligrams? You know, and the doctor's already aware of, no, we're individualizing your dose, you know?
Right. Yep.
Individualizing your dose, CJ. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. We're trying to get him to the 80s. That's what we need. We just want him taking 80s all day long.
80.
Well, and here's the thing, that's what how people use street drugs too. They individualize their dose. Like and that's not good. And it will it continue to increase. This is the same thing. This is why I hate to say it, but sometimes it's just like some of the stuff is just it's really still dope, but it's doctor dope.
Now, I'll tell you this too. This is something that you probably wouldn't know unless you'd been a person addicted to these things before. This was what was so dangerous about the pain pills. Okay, so if you have street heroin, right? If you have street heroin, you never know, what strength it is because you're getting it off the street. It's not. So what with pain pills, right? You knew exactly what was in each one. Yep. So you knew exactly how much you can push it each time. Like as soon as your body got tolerant to one of them, you knew you could try 1.5. And then as soon as you got 1.5, you could try 2, you could try 3, you could try 4. And that's how you builds up to tolerance levels that were insane. I mean, absolutely insane. I tell people that I used to take 20 to 30 Roxys in a day. And they're like, how in the world? The only reason why people can't get to habits like that today is because they can't afford it, right? Because they're so expensive now. But I mean, I was able to push it to where you could take that many in a day.
Right. That's kind of where I was going. So I don't even need to say you're spot on.
CJ, you just hit, I mean, you guys both, but CJ, you just hit on the whole part about the parallel between Dr. Dope, as you called it, CJ, and street dope. And they're bringing that parallel attention here because he breaks into the pharmacy just to steal oxys only. That's the only thing he was stealing, at least, in this episode. And the sales rep is threatening the pharmacist, if you stop selling OCs, you could get sued and all this, the OxyContin if he stops selling it, because he's wanting to just stop offering it. And so she's got that, and the DEA gal, Rosaria Dawson, Bridget, I think is her name, but she in the show, but she's talking to this sales rep, and then she's going to her boss and trying to pursue something here, and he's like, no cartel. There's no cartel. There's no drug cartel to pursue. And so they're showing this parallel that you guys had just talked about, and Jim too, about increasing your dose and knowing what you can take and individualizing your dose. Yeah. That's going on here too. All of that. Yeah. It's really well done.
Yeah. And so you got all this stuff going on, and then you have Sackler talking to his cronies or whatever you want to call them, his family, to push. He's really excited about pushing to start selling OxyContins in Germany. Yeah. So he's ready to go nationwide. He's just he wants to get bigger and sell more. It's just, and they're like, no, they have stricter laws. And he's just going to continue to push just like a drug dealer does. Just like a street drug dealer does.
That's right.
That's why I thought your passage about the selfish ambition of man was so appropriate, because of those things. Because that very scene, it's like, he was told in the scene in the first episode you will never get a doctor to prescribe an opiate for moderate pain. He's like, watch me,
Right.
When it comes to all the steps along the way, like, should we tell the FDA that oxy is stronger than morphine? No, let's not clarify that. Let's talk about breakthrough pain. Let's individualize the dose. Let's threaten to sue pharmacists if they stop carrying our medications. Let's tell doctors that this is non-addictive. Let's get the FDA to change the labeling of this medication. Let's double the dose for breakthrough pain. Let's go to Germany, and I think if you're not paying attention, you'll get lost. They want Germany because it's the hardest market to get a drug through, like to pass through.
That's what I wanted to highlight. It's the hardest market because German culture, and this is so important in biblical counseling, German culture promotes that suffering is a part of healing.
Right.
That pain is necessary to heal. And yet in American culture, it's cover up the pain at all costs.
Right. Definitely agree with the Germans in that way. I agree more with them there.
Yeah. And biblically, we would say, we don't wake up in the morning and pray, Lord, today, would you just grant me all
pain
kinds of suffering? Would you send me haters and people that would cuss me out and treat me horribly? And we pray, God, wrap me in bubble wrap. Help me to not stub my toe against anything. I don't want to hurt at all today. And yet, and suffering for the gospel is different than suffering for something stupid, I say or do, right? But suffering for the gospel is really what we want to be about, like people of conviction and of morals and making godly choices that sometimes rub other people the wrong way. We don't intend to, we intend to live our lives in freedom, and we see those things kind of eroding or being stripped away. And as believers, I just thought that was interesting. And Sackler is going after the market, the hardest market to get into. He's insistent upon it. And again, it's this James 3:13 through 18 that we read, but this selfish ambition in his heart to be better than Uncle Arthur and more esteemed. And, you just can't manufacture that. You can't.
No, but that's the human heart apart from Christ. In so many ways,
So there's a tension in the show about, do we blame drug companies or do we blame the abuser and their heart? And CJ, talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's funny that you just bring that up, because I even look thinking about the way Purdue, like when you look at the way Purdue manipulated and motivated these young sales reps, it was super wicked, right? You look at that and you're like, that's so wicked. Mm-hmm. Yet, we can't let the sales reps, those young sales reps, off the hook, because that's what they want. They're going after this. They want money. They want pleasure. I mean, they're trying to make a name for themselves. And so they're simply giving them what they want by putting, and so they're competing, and this is just where their hearts are at. So that's the whole thing. And no one is off the hook in this show. Like there's no one off the hook. There's a responsibility that we all have. And I think that's what's interesting about the show, the way they try to depict the characters. And Jim, you've said this a few times. They try to almost get some people off the hook, and there's an agenda here. And some people are just kind of the victims, but I really don't see a lot of victims in this show. There's sin. And I mean, that's what's so amazing about some of these shows that really have no Christian biblical agenda, but you still see the depravity of man and their deep, deep need for the gospel to penetrate their hearts, but yet they suppress the truth in their unrighteousness. That's, Romans 1. That's what they continue to do, is just suppress their truth in their unrighteousness.
I agree that it's hard not to talk about the final agenda of this show, but paying attention to each one of these characters and how they're developed. I think the grand finale is that you have even though this is a fictional show depicting real things that happened in our history, there is an ultimate agenda with this show. And now rewatching it and paying close attention to it, it's like they do such a good job of using each character to build that up to that final agenda, which, I'm not going to spoil it now what it is. We'll reveal what the final agenda is at the end. But yeah, it's this is a good depiction, whether it's a fictional show or not, of right. People looking and viewing life through a secular lens, right? And they really do a great job with a terrible life dominating problem, which we would call sin, and trying to make sense of that with their idea of with their view of mankind being either born morally upright or neutral, and they are just products of environment and circumstance, So
yeah.
And that's why I volleyed it to Jim right there. Right.
I mean, did he hit a home run, CJ, or what?
He did.
And you've already hit 2 or 3 yourself, so it's good. Me, I've struck out a few times, but hey, I keep trying. Well, we'll wrap it up. That tension is, is it the drug company? Is it the drug abuser? They're kind of building that. And then you see a different, I say tension. I'm not trying to create psychic tension here, but bad dad joke there. But the hospital tension here is they're pushing pain meds as the 5th vital sign. What's your level of pain? And then the doctor says something so interesting. I wrote this down. They're worried about their online reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that part? I mean, it's kind of toward the end. And so he talks about, like, we're doing this because we get on. He's being honest. Like, we want good online reviews. And I just think, like, everybody's in it for money. I hate to be that guy, but it's just this James 3. If you have a chance and you're watching, read and study James 3:13 through 18. I read through it quickly in the beginning, but that's really what's going on here at every level, and of course in every episode too. But I thought that was just a fascinating thing about the marketing, research, and distribution to doctors. And these judges are saying, hey, we need more than just a video that you're claiming, that they're saying the video that these guys put together to market the drug, which definitely is deceptive, but it's not enough. They need more. And so I think this is the document dump episode where all those documents are dumped, truckloads of documents. Is this the episode where that happens? That's what I think it is. But they're just going to drown in paperwork. Maybe that's coming later.
Once they get the approval from the judge tells them they don't have it right now. They don't have
okay, right now. All right, I got ahead of myself.
They haven't brought me enough this is too broad of a request. And he said, you got to give me something more than a video.
Mm-hmm. So 2 more things to talk about here and we'll wrap up. The first is, I thought it was interesting, Michael Keaton's character talks to the same-sex attracted girl's dad
Betsy's
about
dad,
homosexuality.
Yeah, Betsy.
Yeah, Betsy. So he talks to Betsy's dad, and who then shares it with the family at dinner. And I wrote, born that way. Mm-hmm. So the daughter admits it, and she's saying she'll leave. That's kind of going on. And then, so did you guys want to talk about that a little bit? I mean, here's Michael Keaton kind of inserting himself into the family, trying to be the good guy and help everybody,
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim. Okay. He says, yeah, well, his exact line is research. Michael Keaton, Doc says, research says that's just how they're born. Notice that. I mean, that line, it says research says, well, hey, it sure isn't this kind of research. There's no research coming from this. Like, if you're going to do research, like, do a thorough research. Like, where does that research come from? What's the source that's saying this is how they're born? You know? Anyway, that's the thing that I just right away. It's like and there's that agenda. This is what research says. This is what the world says. This is what the experts say.
Nobody researches that source. And if they do, they go, I don't like what it says. I'm going to get rid of the Bible and do what I want to do. So, that's a great point. Jim?
I wonder how long this is going to be able to last in the social sciences when it comes to this stuff. But if you were just an objective person, even if you're not a believer, right? If you're just not a believer, if you're just a rational, objective person, if you were to look at what they claim is research proving, you would say there is no proof here because there isn't. They don't have any proof.
Right.
They have a statement, right? So if you were to ask any of them to give you the so
evidence, where's the evidence?
So what is the evidence that this is? They would give you a word salad and you'd go in a big circle. That's all you would do. And I'm obviously a Christian, and I make no bones about that, and I believe that the Bible is accurate about that. But I also think I could be a rational, objective person and put myself in their shoes and say they have no answer, and the amount of people that accept it as an answer is, and I will have to say this in professing Christians too. There's a lot of professing Christians that accept the research, the evidence, because they've just heard someone say it. And really all it does is it plays on a desire. That's why it's so powerful.
Yes.
Right? People have a desire to make sense of behavior and not have to call it sin. Right.
And not take responsibility.
They don't want to have to call it sin or bad. Right. They don't want to say that this person needs to repent before God. They want to be able to say, no. There's nothing wrong with this. That's why the lines get just further and further blurred when it comes to just regular morality with these statements. Research says, or it has been proven, or experts believe. They believe. That's exactly right. They believe based on their belief. That's basically what it is.
It is a belief, and people are looking for something that bolsters their already belief.
Yes, exactly.
They already have made a decision, and they want something that reinforces that. I do the same thing from time to time myself.
But moments like this continue to just to make a concrete example of how important it is to understand that Michael Keaton, Dr. Finnix, is being built up as basically the perfect human in this. Mm-hmm. They need this character. They need this character for the agenda of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boy, Jim is just good at cliffhangers, CJ.
Yeah, he is. Well, how about what Doc says, though, like to the dad, where he guilts him, but Doc says, just remind him that his love for his kid is greater than anything in the world. So instead of standing on truth and speaking truth in love, it's you just need to remind him that his love for his kid is greater than anything in the world. Yeah. So it's that idea of the loving thing to do is to just love them no matter who they are, and don't speak truth. You know what I mean? It's this idea that tolerance. It's this kind of idea that the tolerance is the key, and you just need to love kind of conquers all, and truth doesn't matter at the end of the day. That's kind of what you're getting there. Do you guys remember when he said that?
I did not until you said it. And I remember Jesus teaching I'm trying to find it here in Luke 14. Now, verse 25. Now, great crowds accompanied him, Jesus, and he turned and said to all these people, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children, wait a minute. That goes against CJ's point. Children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. And he goes on to teach, but he's basically saying, you've got to love me and obey my word above and over your own love for children and other people. It's going to look like hate, but you have to obey me and love me and pursue me, confirming your point that the show's trying to say, hey, love them, accept them. And yeah, we love our kids. Right. We want to accept them. We want to, and their struggles and all that, but we have to speak truth to them too, because we want them to know the truth and let the truth be what sets them free and for them to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So, it's a tricky thing here. These are sticky issues. And as we wrap up, the last thing, and Jim, I think this is pointing to your overall agenda deal here, but the episode ends with Dr. Finnix, Michael Keaton, getting in a car accident. And he's asked on a pain scale, and I think he says 5, and he gets 20 milligrams of OxyContin as an individualized dose. So the whole thing ends with that. Isn't that something?
Oh, yeah. And
clever.
Oh, yeah. Very clever. The good doctor is now he's getting
set of
thrown
just
into
circumstances out of his control. He was in a car accident.
Yeah.
Can't help it.
He was given an individualized dose, which was encouraged by all the research and experts.
Yep.
Boy, what's going to be next? I can't wait till next week.
Even though I will say, push back on it a little bit, even though they have portrayed his character as being very suspicious about this, even against the experts,
Yes.
So in that moment, right, he probably doesn't even listen to his own conscience.
Yep.
Because I wanted to say back on the love and hate the children, just remind me of that scene that we brought up at the beginning of the show where Dr. Finnix is just trying to be the neutral good guy. And she says, my parents will tell me I'm going to hell. And he says, well, do you believe that? And, and she says, well, I don't think so. What is the most loving thing to do in that moment? So they're choosing a side. They're choosing a side, right? But if the reality was, because what does she say at the end? She's like, well, maybe they're right, and I will go to hell. Well, maybe. I mean, really. I mean, what are you playing with there at that moment? But they are choosing sides. So the most loving thing is to let people come up with their own belief system. That's the most loving thing.
Well, it goes back to your favorite song, Jim. Imagine.
Yeah.
The Beatles. Imagine. That would be nice.
You may have to explain that.
Such a terrible song. It's such a terrible song.
I know.
Yeah.
But
trust me, I love the tune just like everybody else. I've listened to it and I've sung along with it, but the words are absolutely horrendous. They're horrendous. So.
Explain it.
And I love how the New Testament talks about Satan as an angel of light. Yes. A lot of times we think, he's a devil with a pitchfork, and it's obvious. But here's that tune, Imagine, by John Lennon. That is a beautiful song, musically, melodically. Yeah. But the messaging, the words to that song are what you're talking about. You guys are saying it's an awful, awful message of just, people need to read the lyrics on the song. Imagine.
Communist manifesto. That's what it is.
Yeah. And there's your homework. So listeners, there's your homework.
Well, we are not doing this simply because we're trying to be edgy. In fact, we want to be the least edgy people out there. Our message, the gospel's already edgy enough. Amen. And it's a rock of offense and so forth. But we think there are some really worthwhile themes and ideas to discuss here, and things that are going on today, as CJ pointed out. This is not something that you just need to not be to have a discerning eye toward, because this is affecting, every area of life.
Yeah.
Amen.
Just incredible what God's called us into, to be a voice for him in the world of addiction. And we're definitely the minority voice. If you wonder what it's like to be a minority, believe what we believe and you'll find out. There aren't many people that believe what we believe. And so we are trying to be faithful to God, to talk about some really hard things, utilizing this show to bring out these themes and these ideas. But I think the show's well done. I wish that it wasn't as dirty and some of that, but that's the raw world that drug addiction lives in. So, but that's kind of our heart here, and I hope people understand that. Final words, guys, and we'll wrap up.
Yeah, just to kind of go on what you're just saying, I think it's very appropriate we talk about this show, because this is the frontline kind of ministry we've been called to. But I'll tell you, I think that you guys would all agree with me. We wish our ministries didn't exist, right? We wish the necessity for our ministries didn't exist. And a show like this gives us an opportunity to talk in greater detail about the difficulties when it comes to the front line of addiction. Addiction is a very, very difficult ministry to be called to serve in, and this is one of the difficulties, is that the secular world's influence on it is just it's diabolical. It's diabolical, really.
It is. They've dismissed drunkard and biblical words like idolater and all of that, and made it a disease and made it something that really is wicked. So, CJ, final words. You get them.
Final words, simple, is I'm just super thankful for the Addiction Connection, and the fact that you have Jim down in North Carolina, you have you, Mark, down in Kentucky, and we have people scattered throughout the world that have this biblical perspective and that are bringing biblical truth and gospel hope to people that are struggling with addiction. And that's what lasts. And so I'm just super thankful, and just to be a co-laborer in the Addiction Connection and be a part of what God is doing. And that's really all I have to add. I'm just thankful to be a part of this team. So
we're thankful for you in Iowa and what you're doing. And I'm really amped up about the Addiction Connection in 2023. We've got our summit in August and some other things coming, but I'm really excited. So I can't wait to talk about some of that. So we'll get through all 8 of these episodes. This is episode 3 today. We're going to hit episode 4 next. Or no, this is 3. I got turned around there. Then we'll hit 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then talk more about upcoming TAC stuff in the days ahead. So
nice.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you being a part, because TAC is you guys. It's all of us. And we have a really neat network, a really neat family of believers. And we say that because we're our family. We're brothers in Christ. And hopefully we'll get more sisters and other folks on here, different ethnicities and all of that, because we're one big, happy, dysfunctional family that loves Jesus. So amen.
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 All right. See you guys. Have a great day. God bless you.
God bless.
No awkward waves. I need to see an awkward.
I did one earlier.
I love that they always get Mark. I love that Mark is always the one
doing some dumb face. Yeah, I like our new song too. I don't know if you've noticed it, but
I think we should have We Are Family. All my brothers and sisters.